All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I want to officially welcome you all again to this career development workshop, which is themed beyond technical expertise, non-technical skills that aid in career success for geoscientists. And on this note, I would like to welcome our special guest of honor, who, because we are creating this program for us for the members of the Nape YP community. We have also decided that our executives will be those who will be hosting and then who will be giving us this special welcoming. So on this note, I want to welcome our special guest of honor and the NAPE president-elect, and the UAPC, at the University Assistant Program Chair. But the UAPC has also asked that he is currently on transit and he would be joining us, but his network might not be stable. So on that note, I want to ask that the president-elect, Mr. Abiodun Ogunjobi, I want to confirm if he's on the call. So please give us an opening remark. Okay, I'm trying to check if to confirm. Okay, so it seems like our special guests are not currently on the call.
Hey,
I
Shehu.
only see, yeah, hello.
Yeah, Shehu, good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. Sorry. Oh, good
Can you hear
morning,
me?
President. Yes, we can see you and we can hear you. Good morning, Mr. Elliot TBF Nape, Nape President. I want to ask that you please give us a welcome address.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. And thanks for the invitation of today's workshop this morning. Again, I see on the call we have a huge number of participants. I'm sure the crowd will increase as we continue this morning. But I want to salute those who have made time out today to attend this workshop, especially the panelists and the speakers, and also members of the NAPE YP executive committee. I think this is really the kinds of innovations that that NAPE as an association supports wholeheartedly. It's trying to ensure that our young professionals are primed for the emerging markets. And I look at the caliber of speakers and panelists that have been put together today to support this course, and I think it's very well selected. And I urge that the members of the YP make the best use of these opportunity, and many that the YP have put together this year as we continue to ensure that NAPE takes its pride of place. NAPE members take their pride of place in society. We talk about the global transition, and I remember phrases that say that you must be ready for jobs that exist, that will exist in the future, and not the ones that you have now. So I think this is one huge step along that way. Once again, thank you all for your attendance and for a very successful workshop.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Elliot Ibe, for that welcome address. And on this note, this program is supposed to is segmented into two different segments. It is divided into two different segments. The first will be the panelist session, where we would have MDs and then senior geoscientists from the industry come discuss with us, particularly on our theme. And then the second segment, which is uh, um, so the second segment, which is a direct where we have a speaker talk to us particularly on some of those skills that we would need in order to thrive successfully as a scientist. Um, so, but I would like us to have this special speaker come talk to us on crafting a compelling CV or resume that stands out from the crowd. I didn't want to, maybe as a matter of introduction, I know how to introduce myself, but just to put a face on the name, I will try and turn on my video for a while and then I will take it back just so that we can preserve the bandwidth. But to continue, before I bring on our speaker, I would quickly want to read out his profile. So Dr. Wasiu Odufison is a fellow of Nape of the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists. He worked for ExxonMobil from 1994 and retired in 2015. During this period, he rose to the level of a senior exploration geologist, held the position for as a geoscience coordinator, a global recruiting organization, ExxonMobil Upstream Nigeria at retirement. He became an independent oil and gas practitioner from 2016 till date. He is also an associate lecturer teaching at graduate school in the Department of Geology, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, a center of excellence, University of Benin, and a Pan-African University of Life and Earth Science Institute, University of Ibadan. He lives his life in natural laws of creation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our speaker, Dr. Wasiu Odufison, FNAPI.
All right. Those who may not have seen my face, I'll turn on the video and then I'll turn it off just for you to see my face. But I'm having difficulty in doing that, so let me just proceed. The subject.
All right.
The subject of discussion: drafting or crafting a resume or CV that will help you to become competitive. I would change that slightly. You could spend donkey years putting CV together, writing things you've done, writing things you have not done, copying things from internet and pasting. It's no good. And I'm speaking in position as spending 3 years as a global recruiting coordinator for ExxonMobil. So I have seen CVs. I've seen every year I get exposed to 4,000 to 5,000 CVs. Each time we try to hire new people. And this is global. This is global because recruiting now is kind of global. Doesn't mean that I'm a Nigerian and here I must get a job. What it means is that you are a Nigerian and anywhere you are on this earth, you are entitled to apply for any position. And so it's a global recruiting. Companies may not call it global recruiting, but that's what it is. You are eligible as long as you are a Nigerian. Anywhere you studied on earth does not matter, you apply. And the company will bring you to the closest location to be tested. So for somebody who just finished a BSc or Masters and the only exposure you've had is your internship, I don't see your resume going more than 1 page. I don't really see it going more than 1 page. If it's more than 1 page, maybe 1.5 or 2. If it's more than that, it's just garbage. Just garbage, because they're not going to be asking you what courses you have taken, whether you got an A in a course. Your transcript is there to show that. So they don't need that. So a good CV for a fresh person without working experience, new hire, 1 page is okay. And what will you have on that 1 page? Personal information, your name, your address, your phone number, your email, very important. But they will contact you. Nobody's sending courier to come and deliver package now. That's kind of really old school. So they have your name, they have your phone, they have your address, they have your email address, and your WhatsApp number. Those are critical in terms of personal information. Whether you're a male or female, except the position really specify that this job is for a male or female, which organization will not do. you may indicate, you may not indicate it. It doesn't really matter. Some positions will say, potential for this person should not be more than 25 years of age. Basically, the rule of thumb is that for BSc, if you are over 24, the chance of getting invited, being shortlisted is low. Talking of for big companies, but they want to bring people in fresh, that they can still train them. And if you have masters, they may say, okay, not more than 26. I'm just talking reality to you. I'm not talking of sentiments. This is Nigeria, this is that. I'm not talking about that. I don't know about that. You have to be globally competitive. Okay. So for BSc, typically finish your NYSC 24. For masters, 26. That's typically what you see with big multinationals. And I'm not referring to oil and gas. When I use the word multinationals, except I say multinational oil company, I'm talking of companies that have, their headquarters overseas. Those are multinationals. Their parent company is overseas, and they have just come to extend a branch of their business here in Nigeria. Okay, so I want us to understand that very clearly. And the fact that you read geoscience should not make you to confine your mind that you are looking for a geoscience job. You may be wasted doing that. Except oil and gas that will require geoscientists, for their core business, except medical profession that will require that you have MBBS, except law that require that you have a degree in law and you've gone to law school, except pharmacy and lab science, or some engineering. All other organizations, they don't really care what you earn your BSc in. I'm telling you reality, they don't really care, because I'm a consultant and I still help people to hire. And they still invite me to help them to interview. They don't really care whether you read geology, whether medicine, whether pharmacy. The telecommunication industry does not care. Bank doesn't care. Insurance does not care. So they don't really care whatever you study, except the one that I've mentioned specifically. So your BSc, what they want to see from your BSc is a high grade. High grade, a 4.2 above for multinationals. 4.2 above. Because most of them calibrate to US, and in the US, if you want to work with big companies, before they can even invite you to talk to you, you have to be what they call an achiever. An achiever means that you will have a CGPA of 3.2 over 4. They use over 4 there, 3.2 over 4, which is equivalent to like 4.1, 4.2 over 5 in Nigeria. So that's where I'm coming from. Okay? But most of these multinationals are Western organizations. And when you talk of Western, basically they use the US as their matrix, and that is what they're going to use, okay, for new hires, fresh intake. Okay, so we established that. So what would that tell them? They want to just sense whether you have aptitude. Aptitude and discipline. Before you can make that great, you must have been attending your lectures regularly. You must have demonstrated an ability to read and understand and comprehend and write. You must have shown that you have good memory that is working. So those things, once you see those numbers, they now begin to think of you in their mind, what this candidate will be. So you can't have a 4.2 cheating, not understanding, going up and down. Maybe it's happening now, but really it's difficult. Even if you have to be a crook, you have to be smart, a very smarter crook. Okay, so that is that. Okay, so your educational background, people will put school attended, and then school attended with dates. You are just occupying space. There's nobody needs school attended. Can you get certificate without attending school? So school attended. Nobody care about primary school anymore. Nobody worry about that. So you start with your highest qualification. An example, school attended with certificate. That should be the subheader. School attended with certificate obtained. University of Lagos, Department of Geology, put the year so to so, put a semicolon, first class division. Simple. You see, one line. Department of Geology, Department of Geoscience, University of Lagos, 2000 and 2000 or 1999 to, I mean, you can say to 2008 to 2012. That's too far. If you're a new hire, 2012, no company, your certificate has valid of 2 years. With multinationals, 2 years. Some companies have even now saying 1 year after NYC. So if you are getting 3 years, 4 years after NYC, it's unlikely. It's very unlikely because knowledge is not static. Something that you have not been activating for 3 years, you are likely to have forgotten it. So I'm not saying you can't get a job, but a professional job is unlikely. They rather prefer, because every year we're producing new graduates, we're producing new people to the market. So, I mean, what is old is old. That's the reality. Why wouldn't we take a younger one? So that's the reality. The younger person can still remember, still fresh from school, and less corrupted, things like that. So that's how organization reason. Organization are not how to help you. They're looking for mutuality. Somebody they will bring in that will add value to their system, in return that they will compensate. They are not charity organization employing people on settlements. If you want sentimental employment, go to government. They can give you a job, you don't have to do nothing. You don't have to come to work. So that's government. But organizations, private organizations, there's no settlement. They want to make money. They want to do it safely without destroying the environment. They want to bring people in that will ensure the continuity of the organization. So there's no settlement here. So once you finish from school, you serve, try to get something to do. Don't have time lapse. So that's what they will require from you. So you put after your personal information, name, address, email, and maybe next of kin. Next of kin is very important. But sometimes they can't reach you for whatever reason. Network is down, phone is stolen, something, and they can call your next of kin. They say we've been trying to reach this person, and we can't get this person. So you put it there. Then the next subheader will be school attended, the certificate obtained. Start with the last school, which is university education, Department of Geology, University of Lagos, or Department of Geology from Abafemolo University. Put the year. We're 2023, so we can put 2000 and 2019 or 2018 to 2022. That's 4 years. That's fine. And then you put a semicolon, first class division. Done. So everybody know that you attended this school for this period. You got your certificate. One line. Done. Second line, secondary school education, comma. You put the school. Jubilee Martins Secondary School, semicolon, school certificate. Done. So you see, done. In primary, you may put, you don't need it, but those two done. So 2 lines. Then the next thing you put is work experience. Work experience. Because I'm not saying job experience, work experience. Since secondary school, any job that you have done on holiday, put it there, but start with the last one. So for you, a BSc, the last thing is NYSC. So 1, job experience 1, NYSC primary assignment, comma, your science intern or something intern, you put the year, done. Internship opportunity or something with geoterrain, put the period, done. So that's 3 lines. That's 3 lines. Then the next thing is skills obtained. So out of all the work that you have done, what are the skills? One, let's say you did your NYS or internship in a geoscience company. So skills obtained, one.
Hello, Dr. Odufison.
Yes,
Apologies, sorry to intrude the conversation. I just want to confirm if you are sharing your screen.
I
If
don't have any
if you're
slide I'm
sharing,
sharing. I'm
all
speaking.
right, all right. I
I'm
just
just
wanted to
speaking.
confirm that.
Yeah. I
All
don't
right,
go to
that's fine.
listen, That's I'm speaking.
All right.
Can I continue now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So that is done. Then you put a skills, your skills. Now, people don't understand what is skill. I've seen resume, I've seen CV, people just be writing things. Let me make it a simple analogy. I have read in a book, I'm giving an example. I've read in a book of things, the origin, the botanical names, the familiarity of the soil that it will grow, and all those things. I've read that. Okay, that's knowledge. That doesn't really mean anything. That's knowledge. It's free. It's on the internet. It's available in audio, video, all kind of things. So that's not an advantage. But I have cooked beans by setting it and washing it at this and setting it at this. And after 1 hour or so, I produce beans ready to eat and I serve people. That is skill. Skill means you have put that knowledge into action. You have experimented with that knowledge and you have created a product or service. That is skill. Anything outside that, you're wasting time. It's just noise. It's noise. You've read this book about this, you've read that about that, you've read about AVO, you've read about seismic. Okay, good. But what does that mean to me? It's available, it's free. How is that unique? And people lie here. People go and people, I've seen people writing on their CV. You come for interview, exactly what they've written, explain, give us an example. They're looking at the sky. That's being dishonest. Every good employer will mark you down and never wish to see you in their vicinity because that's an integrity and credibility issue. And I've had a candidate that we have to send out who was making bogus claims. You can't even substantiate them with any example. And that is how you bring the person in, you'll be cooking the book, cooking interpretation, cooking horizon, cooking reserves, because that's what has worked for them. So if you see those people, you want to get them away from your vicinity. So people shouldn't do it. So on that scale, if I've done my IT in a geoscience company, I can put there conducted integrated seismic interpretation of so field, mapping 6 horizons, generating time and depth maps, and capturing volumes. You see, I've said that. But I better have done that. I better have done that. Because during the interview, their goal is to find out what exactly you've written down. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to ask questions like, okay, how did you pick your horizons? How did you identify the one that has pay? What did you do? How did you bring your horizon from well log to seismic? Can you explain to us how you tie? What is your missed time window? They're going to ask you questions. So if you just lie, they're going to get you. And once they know that you are lying, integrity matters to multinationals. I don't know about government jobs, because you have liars everywhere. So when I have my experience, I'm talking of private organizations. I'm not referring to public sector in Nigeria. I don't have the skill or the competency to talk about public sector. But from what I read in the papers, I think the crooker you are, the better. From what I read in the papers, if you're a crook, then it's better to go for government jobs. Okay, but multinational don't want people like that. So when you write something a skill, you are basically giving a summary of the process that you have done with the knowledge to create a product. Skill create a product or service. Skill is not knowledge. Skill goes beyond knowledge. Skill is the practicability, the experimental practicability of knowledge. So you need to know the difference. Your CV does not need to be putting knowledge there. I attended the seismic interpretation workshop. Okay, good, but what does that do for me? You may attend and be drinking tea and be going up and down. Haven't I seen people attending short courses and tea, and they never sit down to listen to anything. They be drinking tea, going up and down. So if you put that for me, I already know. So that doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't sell anything. It doesn't sell anything. It's just knowledge. I had the A in social interpretation. Okay, where they didn't teach you anything. Where they didn't teach you anything. Where the lecturer just came and they do 1 week rushy and give you the question, give you the answer, you memorize and you got an A. So how does that help you? So then the next thing is you go to any work that you have done. Any work, that's why I call it work experience. Maybe after your secondary school or after your GSS, you were a teacher. I make my own children teach. After they finish GSS, they wait for 3 months. You don't sit down in the house. I'm going to get you a teaching job in the closest school. All of them, they will go there and teach. So and they don't understand then. I say, look, you are building a work experience. If you can demonstrate you have done something, that means if not for anything, you have demonstrated discipline, punctuality, teamwork. Because if you can't do teamwork, they will have sent you away. That's what I'm going to be thinking of you. So not necessarily that you have done your science work, but put something that you have done. And I've said, I make all my children from GSS3, you work. You don't stay in the house and eat my food. It's not going to happen. No, you go and work. Go to the nearby school, go to the house, you trek there, and then you apply for a job, you'll be teaching. The money you earn is your money, but you also build your resume. It is after they now realize that, okay, this man wasn't mad though, I think he knew what he was doing. But it helps them. So you have that. Then if you have presented uh, papers, so you put it there, another subheader, put it there, Whenever you present paper, you are basically adding to the knowledge of the organization or the public. So you can put that as public service development. You have presented the paper. People come in, they gain something from it. You put it there. Then you put your referees. 2 is okay. 1 from the academics. Let it be somebody that is favorable to you. Somebody you know will write good on you. At least knows you. And then before you put their names, call them, talk to them first. Don't just go and put their name on something and they are not aware. If anybody put my name on something, I'm not aware. If I'm contacted, I'm not going to respond. I will not respond. And it's disrespectful anyway. You're asking me to testify for you, and yet you don't deem it honorable enough to discuss with me so that I know what you're doing. So don't put somebody's name without discussing with them. And then once you have that done, that's 1 page. That's 1 page. And I have a template. Shaun, if you send me your, if you just WhatsApp me, just send me a message on WhatsApp. I will send the template to you and then you can share it. Okay?
All right.
So when I go to a university to teach, I show them the 1-page template. And look, if you're looking for an entry-level job, 1 page. Don't go and write the thing you have not done and don't put them there. It doesn't help you. You want to be honest. 1 page. It is how you put that 1 page that matters. How you put it. Okay? And if any of you, I'm not going to charge you, if any of you, just for 1 week only, 1 week only, if any of you put their first page, 1 page together, and they want me to help them to review, my number, Shaun knows my number, I believe. Send it to me. I will do it for you for free. Just from Monday to Friday. Please, from next Monday to Friday. Aside that, don't contact me, I beg. I'm busy. But I'll put that
All right.
window. But you go and do one page, follow this format. I will send the template to Sheon today. Follow that template, send it to me. I'll make the time to help you put it in order and send it back to you. The window is 1 week. Now, having said that, your CV does not give you a job. It doesn't give you a job. So, Sheon, if you allow me, I will still quickly want to run down through some things.
Okay,
Can I
no
go
problem.
ahead?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So your CV is just for the company to see that this person met our requirement. That is, this person is competent enough for us to consider to be shortlisted. That's what it is. You need 1 page. The key message from your CV is basically your grade. Your grade. Because I don't know you, I don't know whether you can even speak English or not. I don't even know whether you know how to speak. Most people don't know how to speak. They talk. Talking is not speaking. Talking is a vocal discharge. Just open mouth, that's talking. Okay. When you are speaking, you are looking at the energy of what you are speaking. You are cognizant of the subject, and you are also cognizant of the receptivity of the audience. You have to balance all this. That's when you are speaking. If you just open your mouth and say something, it's just an acoustic discharge, vocal acoustic discharge. That's talking. Okay, so they don't know you. So the only thing they know is that this person has a name, and this person has a phone number, and this person has an email address, and this person has a contact address, and this person has this grade. That's basically what they take out of your resume to be shortlisted. All other things will be after you have survived all the tests and everything, you get to interview stage. Okay, that's when they will be concerned about your skill, this and that. To be shortlisted, all they need is your name, your email, your phone number, your contact address, and your grade. That's what we should get you shortlisted. But you still need to make a good CV. So when you get to the final stage, if you succeed in the final stage of interview, that's when your skill will come in. That's when your work experience will come in. That's when your referee will come in. Okay, so that's as if you're doing more than 1 page. Now, so that is the first thing that I want to discuss, the CV. The next thing is shortlisting. I've mentioned that to be shortlisted, these are things they need: name, email, phone number, contact address, your grade. Now, once you've gone through that, whether first class and 2-1 from everywhere, you can't really use that as a judgment. Okay, but that's the first thing you look at. So don't let anybody deceive you that grade does not matter. Grade matters. That's the first thing. In MTN recruiting that I mentored some people through last year, clearly stated there, high level grade. Their MTN internship or global internship or access, high level grade. Okay. So after that, you're going to go through battery of tests. You see, because you're asking somebody to hire you and pay you good money. That money is going to come from profitability. If they're not performing and making profit, they can't pay you that money. So it's simple. They need to be sure that, they should even have this person in their vicinity. So the first thing you are going to do will be aptitude tests. Every is a popular thing. Banco, multinational, everywhere, aptitude test. Aptitude test is not going to be testing your geology or this or that. It's going to test your aptitude. That's what it is. How quick can you think? You're going to have math that will come in form of quantitative. You're going to have verbal. You're going to have numerical. And numerical, people fail. People fail seriously. But people don't know math anymore. They fail. So if you don't pass aptitude and you have first class, good luck to you. you will not go to the next round. Now, employers have also known that some people, they are specialists in passing exams. I don't know how, but they're just good in passing exams. So they'll go to the next order. Can this person do basic research? For MTN recruiting last year, the graduate internship that they did last year, I think it's about 13 stages. 13, yes. 13 different stages that candidates pass through. My daughter was there. Of course, she survived it. She's working for MTN now as a data analyst. And yet she read English. She had a first class in English language, but now she's writing code and she's analyzing data. That's what I'm saying to you, that all those companies don't care about your hard skill. They don't care. Just show that you have aptitude and that you can learn. Okay? So now they will now ask you, that's what they call entry interview. What does that actually mean? It means that, they will just bring you in and be asking you questions on situations. If this thing happen, what will you do? That's they call it entry, or they also call it inbox. You can't really prepare per se for this because you don't know what the question will come from. It can be from this new fuel subsidy situation to traffic. I mean, it's just something that is a problem. They'll just ask you. And then they want to see how quick you can think. So there's no preparation, there's no one day preparation for this other than for yourself to be able to have learned how to quickly look at situation and come up with plausible solutions. They do that. They also give you research to do. They'll send you a topic and they'll give you like a day and they ask you to prepare one page, just one page on that research topic. They want to test whether you actually know how to do research or whether you're going to copy everything in a book and put it there. Whether you're going to put a lot of images to explain. When you're presenting, you don't put a lot of points because they can read it. They are not blind. They can read it. You just put some 2-3 words with images to start explaining. Those words are to activate you so that you start explaining. They want to know you. And by you presenting to them, and they are sensing your confidence, all these things will be virtual. So they'll be seeing you. You'll be seeing them. They'll be looking at you. Then after that, they will now ask you to go and do your own research. Anything. It could be how to cook a soup. You just to go and do something practical and video it. 5 minutes video, not more than 5 minutes, and they'll give you the maximum video size. You do it, and then you send it to them. So for my daughter, I said, look, we were all fighting COVID. We were fighting COVID in 2021 or so. I said, why don't you just make a video of what we do every day? Putting water, putting kettle on the gas, and then let it boil, adding salt, and then, steaming ourselves. I said, do it. They want something unique, anything. And she did that for 5 minutes. And I said, these are routine every day. I was videoing her, she did it. So it could be how you make a bar. They just want to see that you can do something practical. So employers are going through lengths now. They are going through lengths to actually know the candidate. So you can't fool people. You cannot. You cannot talk like a politician. They don't know where you're going, blah, 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 blah. No, go for government jobs. You will do well there. You will do well there within some few things. You will get to the top. But for private organization that is profit-oriented, no, it cannot work. You have to know what you're doing. And during the interview, if you made it through all those stages, they now give a final interview. Final interview is behavioral. Okay? Behavioral basically means that every statement you make must have a star. What do I mean by star? S is a situation, T is a task, A is action, R is result. If you don't speak in terms of star, either you are describing a situation or a task that you have accomplished, the action you took, and the result, everything you are speaking is trash. Trash. And I mean garbage. It doesn't have any meaning. Because there's a rule in hiring. Just like you have a rule in geology, humanitarianism, the present is the key to the past. In hiring, it is present performance predict future performance. Present performance predict future performance. That's the rule of hiring. So how you perform now, when I'm seeing you, is predicting what I'm going to get when I hire you. So that's the rule of hiring. Geology is the present is the key to the past. That is, all geologic observation we made on the surface now, exactly the same thing happened, but now at depth. So you'll be having a lot of deposition. So it's now stratified at depth. But it has happened on this surface, just like we are saying it. That's uniformitarianism. The present is the key to the past. Everything we see now, all the channel you see now, everything on surface now is the exact same that happened millions of years ago. They are just now at depth. That's geology. Rule of hiring is present performance predict future performance. That is what I see you do now. How I see you, the competency I see in you now is telling me what I'm going to get in the future. Okay? So you let all your responses during when you get to the interview stage. When I'm interviewing the final stage, where the CEO or the MD and the general managers or line managers will not be interfacing with you. At that stage, all your responses, in fact, if anybody asks you any question, oral, interview, whatever at whatever stage, make sure that your response is behavioral. Some responses can be theoretical. An example, I believe in leadership. I believe leadership effectiveness is great. Okay, great. You read that in a book. What's the meaning of that? If you say that, I will ask you, can you tell me of how you have demonstrated leadership? If I ask you that question, I'm asking you to be specific. Give me a situation or a task. Tell me the action you took and the outcome. Yes, I'm reading here questions. Yes, questions will come. Just give me the next 5-10 minutes and you ask your questions. Please. I'd like to finish and ask your questions. Okay? So that is that. Now, so if you survive that, the next thing you have to do is medical. Of course, they want to know your medical status. How are you healthy? Bottom line. But some jobs request that you are healthy, so they will send you to their own clinic, not for you to go and bring results from anywhere. Specific hospital, they will send you there. And then once they have that, then they will do background check, whether you have been arrested, whether you have been jailed, whether you have been something, but they don't want a criminal, whether you have carried drugs and all those things. They will check. And then if they see that all those things are good, they will make you an offer. And of course, you look at the offer, you decide if you want to accept. They will give you a window of acceptance, and if you accept, they put your resumption date, then you resume. They say, welcome to our company. So that's what I want to say on that. That's the summary. So let's take questions now.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Odufisa, and thank you for choosing to also send in the template and helping to review our one pager. I also want to recognize the fact that our panelists have also been on the call since your presentation started, and we recognize your presence, sirs. Okay, there's a hand that is raised, but before I take on Odowanevoshi, please permit me to ask this question. Because I know because of your presentation, Dr. Odufison, you mentioned that some of these companies always look out for achievers. That's people that have had the grade of a CGP of 3.2 over 4. That's if you use the American standard, or if it's over 5, which is what we use, which some universities use in Nigeria, yeah, about 4.0. So my question is just that is going to be, what advice would you give for someone who hasn't made up to this grade in terms of applying for jobs, or even when they apply for job, what do they do that will stand them out?
Well, it is what it is. Any multinational will require in Nigeria you have 2-1. Any multinational. Some banks now, because nobody wants to work in the bank, because of the high attrition rate, some banks have come down to having a second class lower. I've seen adverts like that. But generally, they will require you to have a 2-1. And fair is fair. You cannot expect somebody with a 2-1 or first class to be put on the same level or privilege as a 2-2. And somebody will tell me, yeah, but not all first class are as good as a 2-2. Yeah, you can say that. Start your own company and do that. That's fine. You can start your own company. You can do that. That's fine. But the key thing is that your aptitude is first of all inferred from your grade. You can't change that. Because if they're going to throw the window open to all 2-2s, then they're going to have like 10,000, 20,000 applying. Where is the company on earth that wants to spend so much money to be interviewed? Nobody wants to do that. Recruiting costs money. For every candidate, there's a cost to it. The cost of the venue, the cost of the material, the cost of the people you are going to bring. So that's why they have to do that. Okay? And I'm not saying you have a 2-2 or you have a third class, you can't make it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that at all. In fact, most people that have done well financially, they didn't make first class, but they were not deceiving themselves. They came out of school, they went to business straight, and they established empires. So I'm not saying if you don't even need a degree to make money. If you have a talent, all those soccer players or Israel Adesanya, my good man, I mean, beat the hell out of somebody, make money from it. So I'm just saying that you have to know what you have. What is wrong is you don't understand who you are. You don't know the talent that you have, and you are just jumping up and down because you have a degree. And you now say that you have sworn that this degree must give you a job. My friend, Nadayo, okay? I don't believe in that. You can have a degree and dump it. You don't have to earn money with a degree, because degree is not equal to wealth. Degree is not equal to money. It's not equal to success. So what I'm saying is that if you say, okay, you want a paid job in a multinational, that's what they will require from you. And you don't have to do a paid job. You can start a business. You can have your talent. One of my mentees from OAU, Osho, in drama, because I have students everywhere. Whenever I go to lecture there, I like to go to drama department to watch drama in the evening, because I love drama. So I stayed there, I have friends there. So this young boy, Osho, he just came to me and we became friends, and I started, talking to him, mentoring him, and things like that. He beats drum, so he teach me how to beat drums. I have drums myself, So I just asked him, Osho, what happened after this? He said, Dad, I'm starting my own musical, group. That's what I want to do. And it's what Otumba GMC. Otumba GMC. This one Peluni. The guy is making waves, he's making waves. So he knows what he wants to do. He needs it, he recognizes his talent. Even though he got a degree in dramatic art, he wasn't looking for a job. He knew what he got into. His talent. Now he's making waves. He's been invited here and there. He has a band. He's playing music everywhere. And sometimes we just chat, So you know who you are. Because you're going to get older. Okay? You're going to get older. And nature does not require your license to freeze you in age or get older. No, if you don't die, you're going to get older. The question is, What is it that you choose to want to do with your time? It's your choice.
Mm.
What is it that you choose? You're going to get older, like it or not, and we're going to die someday. So nobody will live here forever. But understand who you are. What's your talent? Don't just say my passion. What is it that you have passion about? That's your talent that you can turn to making good living. That's the question I ask people. And the truth is that I no longer care whether you get a degree. No, you don't need a degree to speak. If you don't go to school, you are around me, I train you. By the time I'm speaking to you for a year, your brain goes sharp now. If I'm speaking to you and you can tolerate it and you don't run away and you can choose to stay around me, your brain goes sharp.
All
If you
right.
take all these bestseller books and if that's your education, you read them for a year, your brain goes sharp. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go get a degree. The degree is not equal to money. It's not equal to employment. It's not equal to wealth. I mean,
All right.
take people like Mr. Abiodun Adesoya F. Nape or Bashir Kolidoye. They all started working with multinational, but they had this you know, business interest to want to establish. They were not complaining. They voluntarily retire and move on. And today they've established. That is who they are. You don't just say because Mr. Adesoya F. Nape or Kolidoye F. Nape, they have done have to do it. No, is that who you are? If they didn't realize themselves, they'll probably still stay in that company. They work, maybe they become manager, general manager, they will still not be happy. My own not to lecture. If you give me president job, I'll still be lecturing. If you give me United Nations job, I'll still be lecturing. Everybody have what makes them happy.
Yeah.
And what makes you happy, as long as you're adding value to the people, you will earn your living. So that's my point.
All right.
So
Thank you.
nobody needs to be angry about anything. Just
Mm.
understand the reality and don't deceive yourself so that you are not deceived. Because to be
Yeah.
deceived, you yourself must have been ready to be deceived. And then they will deceive you. Don't deceive yourself. It is what it is. Whatever you have, it doesn't matter. If you have a third class, you have some talent, follow it. I have students from University of Lagos that I mentored that made a 2-1, that got a job in oil and gas, they didn't take it, that got an offer to join the Navy, final offer, they didn't take it, and that they choose to be in their own personal business. Because that's what they want to do. That's their call. So we just have to realize that. So instead of being like somebody, be a better version of yourself. That's what I would say. A better version of yourself every day. Be
Yeah.
like nobody. A
Mm.
better version of yourself.
All right. Thank
Okay?
you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Odufison. Be yourself, know yourself, and then try to be a better version of yourself. So because our time is fast spent and we have limited time. I know three hands have been up and there's a question in the chat box.
I
But I
will take
want
their
to
question.
ask,
I'll
yeah.
take their question before I go.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, that's fine. So what I would do is to ask that the three hands that are up should come one after the other to drop their question, just in case there's an overlap in the question. So I would ask Odowane Voshe. I hope I didn't murder your name. I hope I got that correctly. To please unmute yourself and then ask your question. Please briefly. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, that's my email address. My name is Prince Wilokechukwu. I'm the current Nape YP provost. Sir, I'm very, very grateful for this because we are not, I'm not sure anyone has told us the truth to this extent. But the question has been partly asked by Sheun, and I just want to ask the second part, which while you were answering, you didn't treat him. What exactly should we do? Of course, said of course, you have said we should know ourselves and the rest, but we did not know ourselves before. I cannot go back and go and graduate. What is our lot right now? What is our lot that we should see applications because I'm already 3 years old? Do not bother because do you know that this particular issue you've treated right now has alleviated the fact that we were thinking that all these oil and gas companies, they know who they want to select and they stop that stereotype. Should you do that? Should we go and quickly get a master's so that we can become fresh? Even though we do that, we are more than 26. Should we accept fate?
Okay. Let me just briefly respond to that. Time is a machine, and it just moves. It doesn't care what you do to it. It just moves. An opportunity comes and go. Okay. If you have a degree, in the past, degree does not expire. Today, degree dey expire. For entry-level job, degree has expiration date. If nobody is telling you, if you look at advert, clearly they're writing it there. I've seen it in NNPC advert that if you graduated earlier than this year, do not bother to apply. And fair is fair because the market is flooded. The supply is humongous. So the market is being flooded every year, new fruits to the market. I mean, you can't pick old fruits. I'm just being blunt here. It is what it is. Because if you've studied geoscience 4 years ago, you've not been in a classroom, you've not done anything, somebody who just finished now, there's a high probability that that person may still be fresh in some concepts. It's just the reality. Okay? Now, and I've also said that my personal belief right now, I don't care what anybody studied. I don't really care because reality is reality. The world does not really care, except for medicine, except for pharmacy, except for nursing, except for some selected engineering, except for some geoscience or law. What you study does not really matter. Your attitude is what matters. Okay? Now, what should you do? That's a question I can't answer because I'm not you. I don't know your endowment. I don't know what you like to do. You see, I know what I like to do. I left ExxonMobil at 46. People thought I was mad. They thought I was crazy. I spent 22 years. So let me step out. Because I know that my nature, my energy is very high. My energy is very high. And I like to research, I like to learn. So if I'm getting to a job and it happens that during that time, no recruiting, economy was bad, no rig, 2014, late 2013 to like 2016, no rig in Nigeria, very bad. So for me to come to work and be doing the same thing, it was like, I was like dying. I was like, Wasiu, I can't, my energy cannot, I'll fall sick. I just told myself, okay, I need to move out now. I think they will pay me something every month, and my needs are minimal. And I can send my kids to school so they can be on their own. So I started to leave. So that's me. People thought I was crazy. It's okay. But I didn't look back and no regret because I became fulfilled. I got a PhD. I've gotten a PhD from US before I returned on assignment. While I was on assignment, I was going to school. I knew that I can't do a PhD in Nigeria. So that is still me. So I dusted my PhD, I approached schools, wrote programs for them. Come and teach here, come and teach there, come and teach there, come and teach there. I did that. So, and I'm doing consulting whenever it's available. But I'm fulfilled. That's me. So I can't make a general formula for everybody. If you go to university to go and do masters, thinking that it will improve your chance, you may have just been wasting your time. Because if you don't have the interest to want to know more, how can you discover? I've had students who came for master, I have to teach them. I just I help them to just move on, but I know that it may not really help. It may not really help. I did masters and PhD because I wanted to teach. And I know that anywhere in the world, anywhere on this earth, you have to have a PhD to stay in the academics. So instead of grumbling outside and say, with my 20-something years experience. No, go and meet the criteria. So I had to. Do you understand? So except the person approach me personally and tell me about himself, and I can ask questions to help in self-discovery, there's no general formula I can give. All right, next question, please. Shehu, next question.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that response. So I will call on Marietta to please quickly and then ask your question. Unmute yourself and then ask your question.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Wasio, for the very insightful lecture this morning. My name is Marietta Amba. I'm a final year student of geology from Futina. So my question is, Dr. Wasio, during your lecture, you mentioned a list of criteria to meet for someone who intends to secure employment with a multinational company. So, what advice would you give to someone who has met every other criteria except the age limit you mentioned? You said
Except
for
what? Except what?
age limit, you said for fresh
Yes.
graduates.
Age limit, it's not something that I made up. It's something that you consistently see in the advert. You understand? And the reason for that is, it's just the law of economics. When supply is excessive and demand is low, value will crash. You may call it, asking for masters where a BSc is sufficient. That's just academic inflation. Because if they just say no masters, you will realize that they will have to shortlist everybody in Nigeria. So to screen some people away, they say MS will be an advantage. So that's the market responding to supply. Are you getting me? The market has to respond. Okay, take the recent fuel situation now. Okay, from 195 official to like 500 official. Market will have to respond. How does market respond now? Everything starts going up. Where you take Uber 4,000, they say 12,000. So that's just market. So we are going to have different criteria every time the market is changing. Take AI or take ChatGPT 5. Try your hands on it. I've been using it, download it and use it. You will realize that, in fact, according to a job, that 14 million jobs, new jobs will be created, jobs will be lost. The delta is that 14 million jobs will be gone in the next 3 to 5 years. 14 million jobs. Because you are going to create new set of products and some old products will just go away. So to live in this era in all fields, relearning is key and adapting. You cannot do without it. I'm relearning myself. They talk about GPT. I downloaded it and I started testing it, asking questions. Predict this for me, predict that for me. Because, I can't go to school now and my students are talking about this and I'm looking. I cannot look. I have to make sure that I'm also learning. So the key thing I would say for everybody here, is that to live in this era, you can't live with anger. Let me tell you something about anger. Nobody cares whether you're angry or suffering. The system is too fast. It's not even helping you. But that will depreciate you, that will diminish you, you will lose your self-confidence. So don't be angry with nothing. But instead, do a self-assessment or find somebody that you trust. Somebody you trust. And say, you know what? I want to talk to you. I need to give me feedback about what I say to you. Because you need to have trusted people around you. So that's the way you can discover yourself. Talk to somebody that you trust. Not somebody that will just speak to you what you like to hear. You understand? No. Somebody you've known that will give you sincere feedback. Speak whatever you want to speak to that person, and then let the person give you some feedback. Okay? And then you can start from there by self-discovery. This question is important. Somebody posted it. I'd like to take it. What is the most important soft skill to build in today's marketplace? Good. Skills can be hard skill, geology, mathematics, medicine, law, engineering. Those are hard skills. Okay? Hard skills are not sufficient for you to even successfully go through interview with multinationals. You need soft skills. They also call it behavioral skills. Your ability to effectively communicate, not just talking, to communicate. Okay? And your ability to present, to be able to work in a team, to be a good team player, to collaborate, to initiate ideas. Those are soft skills you have to build. I teach this in Center of Excellence. There's a course called GSG 798, Self-Development and Leadership Training. It's 1 week, and I teach them all this. They learn it. And if Soloko is here, if Soloko is here, he can tell you more about it. So, and I'm not marketing. I'm not marketing for Center of Excellence, but that remains the best school the best school in the country for geoscience, because for geoscience and civil engineering, because they not only teach you technical skills and practical, you also learn what it takes to be a leader and what it takes to be a good team player. That's really a course for it. There's no program. Maybe OAU has that as well. Yes, OAU has that. But there's no other program that I'm familiar with that run that type of things, So that's just, I think I've answered that question. Julius, are they son? That's the response to that. Okay. So let me take one more question and I'm done.
All right. So Emeka, I would ask Emeka to unmute and then please quickly ask your question. Emeka, if you're there.
All right. Good morning, sir, and good morning, all. So thank you for this wonderful presentation, sir. Okay, my question is for someone who has graduated over 5 years now and currently doing his master's program, and though that's during the undergraduate program, the person graduated very well with a 2-1 birth. There was no job opportunities like that for him to. The person couldn't get a job and decided to further on with his master's program. Is there still hope for such a person in the industry out there? That's the question, sir.
Well, I don't have an answer per se because one, I don't have a database of when the companies will be hiring, when they will advertise and things like that. I don't. But what I've said generally is that most multinational, your grade in BSc matters to them. That said, we also have national companies, independent practitioners. But those ones, they need to have known you that, let's take the degree grade apart. This person is competent. I have seen his work. He has done internship with me. I'm going to give him a try. A lot of people that I know, that's how they went, were able to get a job. Not necessarily through the grade they made, but because they have good references, people that they have worked with that can vouch for them, that they know how to do the job. Okay, Mr. Adesoya F. Nape, Bashir Khalid F. Nape, they can tell you that they've taken people in, not necessarily because they had a 2-1 in first class, and they are doing very well. But those ones require that you must have interned with them, they must have known you, or a person they trust, that they know will not lie, has given references about you. You can't just pick somebody to come to your company and you'll be paying that person just because you like that person. If I like you, I'm hungry, I give you money to go and eat. I'm not going to give you my job. But my job is my credibility, it's my exposure. So if you mess my job, you are messing me. So I'm not going to say there's no chance for somebody with a 2-2. I'm not going to say that. But you're going to go through a different route. And that means that you have to be active in associations so that this type of people, when they come to conferences, they see you there, they talk with you, you get closer to them. They can say, you know what, come and do 1 month internship with me. Come and do 2 months internship. And based on that performance, they can say, okay, I'll give you a job. You understand? But it's difficult for multinational. And I mean, oil and gas, insurance, telecommunication, to take somebody with a tutu is just difficult. Okay, so that's my response.
All right. I mean, I want to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Wasi Odufison F. Nape, for sharing with us some of these insights on how to prepare our CVs and then prepare for interviews so that we are readily available for the job or the career market. Some other questions that have been coming in. I know someone who had asked how to write working experience, and I know this was highlighted in the presentation by Dr. Odufison. So what I would say to you, Lucky, is try as much as possible to still compress all your experience, to summarize your experience. And as Dr. Odufison has given us the chance to send him, although he has asked that we send just one pager, which is directly for fresh graduates, but I think I will try and make an exception so that you send your CV and it would help review this for you, Lucky Ekwerugbe. I hope I got that correctly. Um, I want to say once again, Dr. Wasi Odufiso, it's always great to hear you speak to us concerning some of these things that you are very passionate about. I know this is not all, because I think from the very few times I had interacted with you and attended some of your programs, you had shared more than this. But this alone is enough, is a great foundation to kickstart or to build upon. Once again, I want to thank you for giving us your time and sharing some of these words of wisdom and experience with us at Nape YP. We sincerely appreciate.
Thank you, Sean. Keep learning. You should all keep learning and adapting. That's the way you survive. You learn, you adapt. Stick to nothing, get married to nothing. Just learn from the situation that you are facing and then be willing to adapt. Thank you very much. Sean, please get in touch with me after.
All right, I will. I will get in touch with you. Thank you
So
so
I'm,
much.
I'm signing out and I wish you all the best.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Odufiso.
All right, bye.
Yes, yeah. As I mentioned when the program started, I said it was going to be in two segments. The first segment is this presentation on CV cleaning, on preparing our CV and trying getting ready for interviews for the job market. And now we'll be moving on to the second segment, which is the panelists Thank you. So, like I was saying, we're now on to the second segment um of this career month or for this session, and I would like to, without wasting much of our time, welcome our panelists who have been on the call from the beginning of this presentation. First up, in no particular order, is Mr. Bashiru Koledoye, F. Nape, who is the MD of Damatan Nigeria Limited. And Mr. Bashir is an alumni on University of Ibadan and has previously worked in Chevron, Geotrek System, and was the technical director as Geoscience Solutions, and now is the MD of Damatan Nigeria Limited. Mr. Bashir, you're welcome to this panelist session.
Thank you, Sean.
All right.
Can you
So
hear
I'll
me?
go. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much. I would call on you. I just wanted the entire house to hear your voice, and we have. Thank you. I will call on you very soon. Next, Mr. Victor Ogumola, who is an alumni of FUTA, Obafemi Awolowo University, and also the University of Aberdeen. He's worked previously in Statoil, in Alibotin, and now he currently works as a geoscientist in ExxonMobil. He's also the founder of iScholar Initiative, which is an NGO that helps to support and provide assistance grants to people who want to further their education, particularly abroad. Mr. Victor Ogumola, if you're on, we want to welcome you officially to this panelist session.
Yeah, thank you, Shell.
Thank you so
It's my
much.
pleasure.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And to the third panelist, a former president of our association, Mr. Abiodun Adesonya F. Nape, who is the MD CEO of DigiConnect Nigeria. He's an alumni of Obafemi Awolowo University and the prestigious Lagos Business School, and has worked previously in Landmark Geographics, in Total, in United Geophysical, Ajib Energy, and now is the managing director and the chief consultant, chief executive officer of DigiConnect Nigeria. Mr. Abiodun Adesonya F. Nape, you're welcome to this panelist session.
Thank you very much, Sheo.
All right. I mean, I know we've taken so much of your time, and I want to once again thank you for gracing our event. But this is going to be a lot more interactive, and I'll ask everyone to please make good use of the chat box to drop your questions. And I'm going to just want to ask, the theme of this event is trying to get the non-technical skills that would aid career success for geoscientists. I would go across the table now, and I want to ask, what exactly are those non-technical skills that you would advise? Because for those the target at this webinar are students, those who are just fresh graduates, and young professionals. So the question across the board would be, what are those particular non-technical skills that are not just geoscience, geology, geophysics related, or petrophysics or geochemistry, as the case may be? What are those non-technical skills that you would ask that people should, if they do not already have, but try to develop, that can aid career success for them as geoscientists? I would want to begin with Mr. Bashir.
Okay, thank you, Sean. I think Dr. Dufison already mentioned a few of them, but I would like to particularly focus on two of them. I think one of those soft skills that is extremely important for geoscientists to develop is that ability to communicate and market their ideas. The ability to let people know or to give access to people, whether they're your technical superiors or others that are stakeholders in whatever project or work you are doing, to give them access to understand what you are doing in a way that lets them see how whatever you are doing impacts them. So, for example, if you have gone and made maps, for example, to either just let people know what kind of geology you are looking at for exploration purposes, or you have made estimates of volumes or things like that. Your ability to get people um, to appreciate what you have done hinges a lot on how well you can market what you've done or communicate. Simple things that are powerful, such as presentations, PowerPoint or whatever, but the ability to tell that story that shows what effort you have taken, what data you have used, how your how you've gone through the technical process, typically your methodology, how your results fit into other results, and how it fits into the end that the company or the person is looking for. So basically, if you are very good at making presentations that tell this story, it makes it easier for you to market your idea, and not just the idea, but actually market yourself. So you see, people are more willing to listen to people that can communicate very clearly, because for everyone that you are working for, and again, this is not just you being a geoscientist, obviously, but everyone you are working for, they have expectations from the work that you are doing. Now, you have some people that are very good technically, but they do not advance as well as other people because they cannot communicate what they have done, why they have done it, what problems they had, what kind of what people that they have done this work for stand to gain from what they did. So I would say communication, and you'll notice that I also mentioned marketing. And marketing basically is an end product of your communication. That is the ability to sell, your idea and to sell yourself. Because when you work and you're able to communicate clearly, you are not only selling your idea, but you're also selling yourself. So when, as a manager of resources, either people resources or other resources, when I have to look at what technical work people have done, I find it easier to listen to someone that has been able to convey their thoughts, their work clearly, than people who may have done the work but find it difficult to convey their thoughts. So being able to present very well is something that, again, in a lot of young professionals, we see as a deficiency. So if there's not something you're going to take away from this discussion today, it's to go and learn how to improve on your skills on presentations. I want to stop there for now.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir. In presentation skills, particularly on communication and knowing how to market ideas. I'll move next to Mr. Victor Ogumola.
Yeah, thank you, Shil. And thank you, Mr. Resha, for such an excellent discussion on communication and marketing. And of course, I will just take my own point of what Mr. Resha has just shared. Um, I worry less about the technical ability of an average geoscientist, because before you are recruited, the fact that you are recruited, it means there is a level of technical capability that, in the wisdom of the recruiters, have determined about you. Just like Dr. Odufes, I was saying, he took us through the recruitment process and what needs to be done to even get a position in terms of opportunity. So I worry less. But what really differentiates one employee from the other, either you become a high flyer or you stay put you job plateau from first year through, either you are in a mid-career or late-career. There are a lot of geoscientists that don't typically leave one position. And when you look at them, I think Mr. Basha mentioned that, look, it is not because they are not really good. They are technically sound. But how do they market? How do they communicate? But in addition to that, how do they get along with people? And that brings me to teamwork. Nobody wants to stay around grumpy person, somebody that will not get along. Getting along doesn't mean you are not principled. It doesn't mean you don't still have you are not still assertive. But getting along means you are focusing on the job, you are being professional. You don't take things personal. You get to, even in the corporate world, you see attitude of some people, they could be so petty. And one of the killers of career is when you are being perceived, because everything, especially in the corporate world, is about perception. When they see you as somebody who will not align, of course, you don't have to necessarily align. You have to have the voice of your own, but you don't want to be that guy that even when you have an overwhelming fact, you have an overwhelming support for an initiative, you are the one that we always want to be a clog in the progress of the team. Nobody wants that on their team. Or if they want to, maybe just for your technical ability, they can tolerate you. But when it comes to career progression, such fellow will struggle. That's the truth. Then, when you are a good team player, you look out for others. You are not just focusing on the job. You are looking, you are very mindful of the participation of others. You take lead. You motivate people to do the job, not just doing the job, but you also want to make sure that they are self-driven. So it is important that you are a team player. Another thing that I've seen this multiple times, how people who they consider having high potential, maybe at the beginning of their career journey, but suddenly they lose it. And that is being reliable and having the highest level of integrity. I think it was Dr. Odufeson that mentioned, even the cost of recruitment. Any serious-minded recruiter will look out for such value in any potential employee. So it is always a red flag, especially if you are young, you are coming into a company afresh, or you are just joining a team. The first thing you want to do is to build that confidence, and that comes with your ability to be trusted. You are not Mr. Know-all. None of us is. When you don't know something, you should be courageous enough. Now, oh, sorry, I'm not too sure of that. I will find out and get back to you. It doesn't hurt. People respect you for that. Even where you are sure, because especially in the geoscience, people are hardly assertive. You can say, okay, based on your analysis, when you drill this, you are going to get 1 million barrels. You don't say things you rarely say things in absolute terms. You want to give a room for error, so to say. So you join a team, you join a company, the first thing you want to do is to be trusted. When you become a trusted colleague, people listen to you. People respect your views and opinion because they can always see. If he knows it, he's going to say, he's going to say it as it is. But where you And that's, I mean, the science that we practice is data driven. And data is good to the extent of its fidelity and your ability to interpret it. So that is why in a typical review section, you have different scenarios, different perspectives, even about the same prospect. So people look at things differently. But the whole point here is you want to position yourself as that person that can be trusted. You have to be open, you have to be reliable. And of course, you have to understand the culture of the company you work for. And even regardless of the company you work for, you can never go wrong by having the highest level of integrity and by being reliable. You are not making up fat. I mean, you are not, you see, when you join a company, in your, I mean, as a student, you can be so theoretical, but now you are doing the real job. So it has to be fact driven. And that reflects on who you are. So you can't, even when you make a proposition about something, you must have key facts, hard facts to support that. And of course, you could do all you can and things still fail. I mean, if we are all successful in what we do, then we won't be having a dry hose. But when people reflect on your work ethics and they see how much due diligence you put into what you do and the sincerity of your process, people will still trust you. Either you fail, either the work fails or not. But you don't want to do your job by just making up for it. I mean, like I said, we've seen people, in fact, they were shown out of the way. And you would think these guys are good. I mean, you can be smart, you can be very intelligent, and you can still make things up. But in all you do, let integrity drives, guides you, I would say. So I will stop here. I know there are so many things so many value that you can demonstrate for you to differentiate yourself, even as a geoscientist in the industry. And this has nothing to do with your technical aptitude or ability. So I will stop here. Thank you.
All right.
For now.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Victor. Thank you for building on Mr. Bashir's response to that question and telling us about how to market ourselves. Being a good team player, you have to build integrity, be confident, be trusted, and be reliable. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogumola. And now I would move to Mr. Adesoya, who will just give us a comment on the theme, on what those non-technical skills are.
All right. Thank you very much, Sean. Good afternoon. I think we've spent 1 hour and 35 minutes already.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to take too much more of your time. What Wasil presented is quite interesting. I just hope, I hope that most of the audience, especially those that are looking for a takeaway, are not scared. And I also want to lighten the burden a bit by saying that hopes are not lost. People should not be despair. They shouldn't despair. It is not what we want, but it is not bad. Basically, when it comes to other skills, non-technical skills that will aid success for geoscientists, I want to broaden that a little bit. There has to be elements of who you are, and who we are. Basically, in life is a function of two major elements. Our nature is number one, and our nurture Number two, so nature speaks to how God has created you. You're a quiet person, you're a quiet person. You are a flamboyant person, you're a flamboyant person. Then nurture is a function of environment of development. Your family background, your home, your school, your things that you pick up that didn't come in your DNA when you were created, when you were formed. And there's absolutely no way this will not come to bear in determining your career, in determining how successful you are in your career. And it has nothing to do with technical skills. So it's just soft skills that you develop. So fundamentals of human behavior, says that we must be accommodating, we must be tolerating, we must ensure moderation in what we do, we must be honest, and we must also have ability to communicate. Now, again, these elements also come into bear in how far you will go with your career. Therefore, the some of these things are quite easier said than done, because if you are one type of a personality, if you have a personality, it's always very difficult to dissociate that from who you are. So the first thing I would say is that you need to know who you are. Fundamentally, you need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. That self-recognition goes a long way in positioning you, or you positioning yourself for what you do. Again, in Dr. Odufison's presentation, he did speak about age. Of course, he was speaking about international companies, multinational companies. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality out there globally. But our Nigerian situation is peculiar to us. I mean, there's ASU strike, there's all manners of disruption to a programmed duration of a course in the university. And you find yourself exceeding that duration almost all the time in recent times. And as a consequence of that, you pick up additional years to your age, and it's not your fault. So you begin to feel angry to some extent. That what kind of situation is this? Frustration begins to set in. I want to just tell you that you shouldn't, because that will amount to surrendering to the system. You should lift yourself out of that. The fact that you are 26 and not 22 before you get your first degree, don't plant that into your head. You can still make it. Of course, don't look at geoscience as the only way out in everything you do. But when you consider the totality of all that Basil presented, he is very forthright, he's very correct. But I don't want us to overthink it, and I don't want us to sink into it, because I can feel that it could be quite depressing. I mean, from some of the questions. So, and the Bashir and Victor had alluded to the fact that we need to be good presenters, we need to be good communicators, we need to be a team player, we need all of which, again, I summarized in nurture and nature type of development, and your fundamental in terms of behavioral pattern that you have. And this is it. It's everything is entrenched in those kind of environments. It's always very difficult sometimes to tell somebody this or that. I mean, in DigiConnect, for example, we try as much as possible to bring in the interns and then we try to make them to make presentations. And I always tell them, I'm not particularly interested in the content of your presentation. We will get to that and we'll work on that. But I'm interested in seeing how you are able to come out of your shell from being somebody who is timid, who doesn't know how to talk to an audience, to somebody who is very confident and can speak to an audience. And immediately that is done, then you can now present your work. You can now sell what you have done. And like Bashir said and Victor said, this will add to, you are selling yourself just as you are selling the job that you have worked on. So it's quite a very wide topic, but it is all entrenched in the body of the individual concerned. And that is what I want to leave as a takeaway in this conversation. Do your self-assessment, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and begin to work on your weaknesses while you continue to enhance your strengths. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Desoya, for raising our hopes or reviving our hopes and summarizing some of the elements of who we are in terms of nurture and then nature. And finally, we have to be able to self-assess ourselves, build on our strengths. Why not concentrating so much? Why not allowing our weaknesses draw us down so much? Yes. Mr. Dr. Odufisa has spoken a lot from the perspective of international oil companies. But I want to come to Mr. Ogumola. For those who do not know, Mr. Ogumola is the founder or one of the co-founders of iScholar Initiative, and is a non-profit organization that tries to support Nigerians, or I think it's gone across Nigerians to Africans now. I would allow him to speak on that. But my question, in speaking and in continuing the response from this, Mr. Ogumola, would be for those who have the idea of wanting to further their education, and also since you're also here, and we have the privilege of listening to one of the panelists, one of the core founders in the iScholar Initiative. So, what are those things that you look out for when people apply for some of these grants from you, particularly in preparing themselves for for postgraduate studies? Because in our midst there, we have students who are just who are just preparing to finish. We have those that have just finished as well, and even professionals who are even hoping to further their education. So, Mr. Ogumola.
Yeah, thank you. That is a very interesting and great question to ask, because in my mind, it kind of ties to everything we've been talking about. And before I go on, I have to sincerely appreciate Mr. Abiodun Adesanya, because, I mean, Egmont, I met you last time at the Nape conference, and I expressed my appreciation to you for what you are doing for our youth, especially in the geoscience community. So we see them, we hear them, and we get a lot of feedback. And it's like your company, you open it up as a school, as a bridge, as that launching pad for all our, I mean, as long as you are self-driven, you sure have a spot. So it's a training grant. So I can't just go on without mentioning that. And I also thank you for kind of reassuring our scholars, our young professionals. Yes, Egbo Odufesa is an excellent mentor. Is a very down to heart speaker. So, but I will tell you, just like Mr. Adesanya mentioned, there's always an opportunity, and you don't want to limit yourself to just one thing. Even in the geoscience space, there are multiple career opportunity pathways that you can explore. Now, back to the question. I will tell you when I graduated from FUTA, and where I had my fourth degree, then went to serve, and I didn't waste any time because I knew very early that looking for a job is not a job in itself. So you can be doing something at the same time still actively applying for job. And when I look at the trajectory of the industry, I quickly realized that first degree was no longer a competitive degree as a geoscientist. So what I did, even though I knew I wanted opportunity, outside the country for grad study, but again, you have to also contend with scholarship. I practically saw myself through undergraduate, so I couldn't even imagine, I couldn't even go to private school in Nigeria, not to talk of you going across the border for grad study. But I went to OAU to grad school. And while at OAU, I was shuttling between Fair and Lagos almost every other weekend for one aptitude test or the other. But like I said, I didn't just settle saying that, okay, I wanted to just be looking for jobs. So, Dr. Odufes mentioned something regarding expiration of degree. So when you have a first degree and you think you still want to have a career in geoscience, then you don't want to stay at home or just thinking that you are looking for, you must be doing something constantly. If you are in school, yes, you are adding value to yourself and you are keeping your skill level sharpened. So that way, when you have opportunity to interview for any position, then you have a better chance. Now, what I told you, of course, Mr. This I just said, even as a master student, I told you, I got frustrated, as a strike, student crisis. So I spent almost 20 months at OAU, and the only thing I could show for it is the fact that I completed my coursework. And for me to even start the project, data will not, DPR will not approve my data. So, that was a whole lot of stories. So there are a lot of things that contend with your upward trajectory as far as Nigeria is concerned when it comes to your career. So the fact that your degree has aged long before you have the opportunity to even apply for your first job, it's not entirely your fault. It's just the system that out of control. But I will tell you this. At a point in Nigeria, I started regretting doing geology to start with. Because the reality is, when you look at the totality of the industry in Nigeria in terms of available opportunities, it's very limited. You take ExxonMobil, for example, even when ExxonMobil was actively recruiting, they will recruit an average of 3-4 geoscientists in the whole year. Maybe Total does, around the same number. Chevron, Shell, and all the other majors. But even at the end of the day, you look at the number of geoscientists being graduated every year from, I don't know how many universities we have in Nigeria now. You don't know, less than 1% of even your 2-1, your first class, will not still get you a job because there is no job in that field. Let me say the jobs are limited. But the thing is, I said, at a point I started doubting myself that, look, maybe I've made the wrong decision. Maybe I would have just gone to do my pharmacy because that was my first law. But because the situation will kind of affect your psyche. And that's why I like the fact that Mr. Adeson had mentioned. Just put a caveat to that. Okay. Everything Dr. Odufes talked about is pretty much driven by the situations in Nigeria. And that's our reality, actually. You can't take that away from me. That is why it is important that, okay, how do I give myself that leverage? And I can tell you, most of the major companies, my company inclusive, in the last 10, 15, 20 years, when they want to recruit geoscientists, for example, they go to London, they come to Houston to recruit Nigerians and ship them back to Nigeria. So, but what does that tell you? Remember, we do grad school in Nigeria, right? We have masters, we have PhD programs. So that tells you that the company, because it's a business, it's not a father, it's not a Father Christmas. I mean, they hire you in order to deliver a value, and they want to go to a place where they believe the students have had the chance to have access to the world-class facilities. They've studied and they understand the fundamentals of geoscience, and they can see a lot of potentials in them because they've been trained in an environment that is so enabled. So it's a simple thing. So, but what that tells you as a young graduate who still wants to have a career in this industry is that, okay, how do I up my game? So that is why grad school in overseas comes in. Not until I had the chance, I was a PTDF scholar, and I tell you, before I graduated, 2 months before I graduated, I already had 4 offers. Of course, the oil price was good that year. I'm talking about 2005, 2006. But when you look at even the way we do recruitment in Nigeria versus how it is done in overseas, even when Nigerian companies come to overseas to recruit, it's different. Dr. Lopez mentioned that there was, 13, 14 different phases to interview for a job before you finally get an offer. It's different because the situation I just is just too bad. That is why you have to motivate yourself. That okay, if I have the opportunity to add extra value to myself, to make myself more marketable, to give myself that competitive advantage, then if you can, overseas training is important. This is different from what we have in Nigerian parliament, like Japan. You guys are not Japan. What we do at High Scholar Initiative, I mean, this year alone, we had about 2,400 applicants. And today, coincidentally, is the official onboarding day. We are welcoming our new awardees, 70. We can only select 70 of them. We go through very rigorous selection process. For example, if you want to come to ISI, we assess you on key major metrics. For example, because what we do, we try to align our requirement with what is obtainable from grad school here. You want to go to school in, say, Colorado School of Mine, or you want to go to Stanford, you want to go to Texas A&M. I mean, wherever geoscience program is being offered, we know what the requirements are. For example, you must be able to write very, very high quality statement of purpose, SOP, they call it. This is, you are telling your potential professor or supervisor that I have clarity about what I want to do. Your project interest, your project ideas, and what you've done in the past, what you are currently doing, and how you're able to tie that to what you'll be doing in the future. And what will be the application of that, to the geoscience community, to the so that is, the subject of SOP itself is a whole subject on its own. Then, if you want to, because again, you are not just applying to school for admission. You could gain admission without scholarship. If you are somebody like me, a very poor guy that could not even effectively fund a local education, then you want to try as much as possible to make your application very competitive in a way that it can get you a grant, maybe in form of graduate assistantship, teaching assistantship, or research assistantship. Then there's what we call academic CV. I know Dr. Wilson spoke very passionately about CV. It's a different ball game. That is a career CV. When you want to do an academic CV is different. The elements are different, the contents are different, the focus is different. Then, of course, there are things you cannot undo. For example, you already have a first degree. So your class of degree is important. It gives you a better chance. I'm saying that you cannot do it because you already had it. Because your transcript is a key element of your admission requirement. Not just for the admission requirement, but your potential to actually get a scholarship. So I know we have other panelists. I'm not going to take too much time. If you guys want specific career talk on grad school admission, I'll be glad to do that for you. In fact, I have better people within ISI who can even give you that lecture.
Thank you so
But
much. Thank you,
the
sir.
key takeaway here is it is important that you are thinking about it. But then the heavy lifting, you must be ready to carry. That means you have to be self-driven. You have to do for yourself what you have to do for yourself. And grad school is not my mind, as they say in Nigeria. It's not a shy play. It's not for the faint-hearted. So it requires a lot of work. And you have to write standardized tests, GRE, Graduate Record Examination, and TOEFL, Test of English as Foreign Language. So it's a whole lot of things. You must be ready for it. It's not like a Nigerian typical Japa. No. So this is a highly involving process that you must really, really be ready and be determined to go through it. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor, for that enlightening response. Yes, and thank you for giving us the opportunity. We'll definitely get back to you on that career talk that you have spoken about. You have told us overall that one has to be very ready to be self-driven, and as the future, one has to be self-driven in order to attain success for the future. Before I call on Marietta, and I know Marietta is a student of Futmina, I would want to ask Mr. Adesonya and then another question from Mr. Bashir. So Mr. Adesonya has done so much in trying to help us not to lose hope. And he mentioned something about trying to grow or groom some of his employees in terms of presentation. And I can say I'm also a beneficiary of some of those grooming. But again, I would want to ask Mr. Adesonya, because I know there's another question here for you. But before I jump onto that, the question will be, I'm going to paint a scenario of two different group of people. And I want to ask that what are those practical steps you will give to, say one, for example, someone who is just a fresh graduate and has constantly been trying and making all the efforts to apply for jobs and has been unsuccessful. That's one group. And the other group is someone who has even just resumed, maybe not just resumed, but has had some few years of experience in a career position and is already tired or trying to lose hope. My question directly is, what are these practical steps you give to these different sets of people to help them practically get out of this lost hope and then try to thrive in their chosen path?
Let me take the first one. If somebody is new, I
Yeah.
think practically all the speakers have mentioned the fact that additional skills are needed. So coming to me with a BSc in geophysics, or applied geophysics, or geology may not be the only criteria that will get you the job. What else can you do? You know, Sean, that we do look for people who have excellent presentation material skills. And by that, you know, they will pick up any presentation, and by the time they are done with it, it looks so nice and so presentable. And it's a skill sets. They just have this thing with PowerPoint and they're able to do that. So how about somebody looking for job, trying to acquire those extra skills. Somehow how you can present what you have. It enhances your chances of being able to get a job. So, in summary, additional skills that are value adding to what you are looking for, so that even if the person interviewing you doesn't see much opportunity for you in the area of geoscience, he immediately sees your other skills and immediately feels that, this is something that I will need. So that acquisition of those extra skills are always very enhancing to one's chances of getting employment. Now, to the slightly experienced person that is saying end of the road, I don't know how somebody will see end of the road in 3 years, because in some organizations, 3 years is just the beginning, or you haven't even started yet. I mean, what you said, you spent 22 years in the industry. I mean, before in mobile, before he left, I spent quite a lot as well, and it requires some patience. It requires understanding of the establishment we're talking about. It requires your own personal aspirations as well. If there's a convergence of positiveness around all these things, you can hang on. But again, it's a function of what you want. Some people are quite impatient and will think they have hit the end of the road. At the same time, some will think they have acquired all the skills, whereas they haven't in reality. It depends on what the person wants, but I think it's always good to do the assessment properly, and it's also good to peer review your decisions properly with people who have more experience, so that they can guide you or bring some different perspectives into what you're talking about. But overall, yes, I mean, those would be my candid responses to the two questions.
Well, okay. Thank you. I mean, thank you so much for that reminder that I mean, life is a field of learning. We have to continue to learn. So, like you've said, if he's a fresh graduate, that additional skill that will bring in value are the things that can enhance the person's opportunity. And then, like you said, yes, maybe three years could be too early. But thank you for that reminder that this requires patience and an understanding of the environment, and overall that assessment, so that one knows him or herself. Thank you so much, Mr. Adesoye. And then, yeah, Julius has also mentioned self-assessment and peer review. Thank you so much, Julius, for some of those highlights that you've been dropping for us. And then I'll go to Mr. Bashir. Mr. Bashir, in his first conversation, had mentioned a lot about communication and how you would help market ideas, particularly for someone who is technically skilled. But again, I want to bring this up again. Again, maybe I'll try and drop in two groups of people in this case for you as well. First is, I know several people have spoken about, after they've gotten their BSc and how they would want to, have they look for jobs and they've not found any, and then they'll decide to mark time with trying to pursuing postgraduate studies, whether in Nigeria or out of the country. So my question to Mr. Bashir would be, for someone who has built this technical skill and wants to get into the industry practically, maybe has attempted before and has used that time to maybe get one certification or the other, what's that practical advice you give to someone in this sense? Because I know you mentioned something about communicating what our knowledge is, but what's that practical step that this person has to make, so that they get that, I don't know, it will be first breakthrough, but they will get that opportunity to try to either practice these or begin to gain that experience in the industry? I don't know if Mr. Bashir, let me check. Oh, okay, I'm guessing maybe network. I will come back with that question, Mr. Bashir, and then I'll call on Marietta. Marietta, can you unmute yourself and then ask your question?
Thank you so much, Mr. Sheon. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariette Amba. I'm sending my appreciations to all our panelists today. My question is directed to Mr. Adesanya. In the spirit of improving our non-technical skills and as the managing director of DigiConnect, sir, how would you describe your ideal employee?
My ideal employee is somebody who is quite open, free to speak his mind, um, intelligent, not just in the area of geoscience alone, but overall intelligence. Somebody who reads widely, because we see reading is very important to your overall knowledge. If you cultivate the habit of reading widely and reading well, you will know a lot of things. And the knowledge you have is what will advance you, not only in the profession but in life in general. So I always I try to admonish our staff to try and learn by reading. Read widely, just gain knowledge of a number of things. In the process, you will be skilled. In the process, you would have indirectly enhanced yourself. And there will be a number of things that you just walk into contributorily that you wouldn't even know that is in you. And these are very important attributes that I will look for in what you call an ideal employee.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for that response, and thank you, Marietta, for the question. So I'll call on Temidayo. You can unmute and then ask your question.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good
Thank
afternoon.
you for the opportunity and thank you for the organization of this program. So my question is, I have just gotten admission to study in the UK, oil and gas policy, international oil and gas law policy. So I want to ask if there's any scholarship or funding opportunity that I can use to pay for my school fees deposit or something. Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Even though Timidayo didn't mention who she was addressing the question to, I think I want to move this to Mr. Ogumola.
All right. First of all, congratulations, Timidayo. I think that's a very first important step. You get admission, then you worry about the scholarship. So the truth be told, when it comes to UK and the rest of Europe, particularly the West Europe, scholarships are limited. If you don't have your scholarship from Nigeria, you are not likely to gain scholarship in the UK or any part of Europe. I mean, I'm drawing this parallel between UK and North America generally. While in North America, you have things like graduate assistantship, teaching assistantship, research assistantship that are meritoriously awarded to you as a student based on your qualification and and your potentials. The same cannot be said about UK. So I know your question is, how do you get scholarship to study in the UK? So firstly, you have to explore what is locally available. I mentioned I was a PTDF scholar, that is Petroleum Technology Development Fund in Nigeria. So I know they still do that. I think every year they advertise, you apply, and of course I'm not conversant with what the process is right now, but that is one option. There, I know a lot of companies. Don't let me say a lot. I take that back. At least few companies. Um, we give scholarship. I know ExxonMobil will give at least 2 every year for overseas scholarship. Though we stopped that for a couple of years due to the downturn. I think I'm not too sure if they've resumed back. I don't work in Lagos actually, but you have to find out about this thing. I know maybe Total, Chevron. I mean, you get to inquire. Then there's what they call a Commonwealth scholarship. Uh, that is also a real possibility. And again, everything is all about, you have to take the first step of applying and go through the selection process. So, but overall, if I can give an opinion, for you to truly broaden your grad school opportunity, you want to look beyond Europe. Yes, there are certain parts of Europe that will give you partial funding, like that will cover your tuition, your another thing, but you have to bring your own living expenses, which is, I mean, for some countries like Norway, Germany, that's about 20K, depending on the program, if you are doing masters or PhD. But if you truly want to get a full funded grant program, my advice is at least to increase the opportunity for you, the options for you. You want to look at US, you want to look at Canada, the US in particular. The requirement for you is just if you can just do the work. What I mean by that is doing the heavy lifting, you can write the standardized tests. I mentioned for every STEM-oriented program, you got to do GRE, Graduate Record Examination, and TOEFL, that's Test of English as Foreign Language. And between these 2 exams, depending on your score, if you score very high, that kind of increase your chance of funding, because those 2 exams, they do 2 things for you. They get you, it's part of the requirement to secure admission, and it is also a consideration for scholarship. So why this is, for me, why I would prefer this route is basically everything is you have control over how far you want to go with it. Because when you talk about local scholarship, for you to get scholarship to go to school in the UK, these are very competitive. It's all about the same thing we've been talking about. I mean, you have 2 positions, you have 1,000 people applying, so it's very competitive. But you can even make yourself more competitive by, expanding the options for yourself by looking at schools in the US. So, but because admission, I have to be very, very candid with you. Getting admission in the UK is not too difficult. If you have to, or even a lot of tutu will still get admission in some university. If you are doing geoscience, of course, if you are going to Imperial College, University of Manchester, or University of Aberdeen, yes, you have to, 2-1. Then after that, they don't really require anything from you. So admission is easy, but the scholarship is difficult. But if you are looking at North America generally, then you have to do extra. And doing extra will actually give you a lot of funding. That's all I can say. But good luck with that, and start with, exploring available local scholarship. And I have to tell you, UK, British government, they rely mostly on foreign money to fund their educational system. So if you are paying, say, £10,000 for a program as a foreign student, international student, for the same program, their own citizen might just be paying maybe 10-20% of that. So they rely on our money to fund their educational system. But America is more generous. Sorry, I'm very biased towards America, but that gives you better chance, I will have to say, when it comes to scholarship opportunity. I hope that at least helps a little bit. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Victor. Timidai, I hope that has helped. Okay.
Thank
So
you so
before,
much.
all right, yeah. So before I ask for the final words from our panelists, I think Mr. Bashir is having some technical um troubles, but I'm sure he will connect with us soon. But before I ask for the final words from our panelists, I would want to ask both Mr. Victor and then Mr. Biodun. Maybe Mr. Adesanya can go first. What advice would you give to your younger self? And in addition to that, how do we deal with failure? Because I know that there are times that maybe in your career or maybe in trying to start up, there will have been some decisions or some moves or some mistakes that would have been made and you will have wished you had corrected. What advice in terms of the advice you give to your younger self? And what other advice as well in terms of failure would you give to those on this call? Mr. Adesoya.
So, yeah, let me first answer this to go by the theory. Happens to be given to the
Sorry, sir. I think your voice is not too clear.
very last step. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Luke, sounds better.
Okay. So I was saying that I go by the theory. What I mean by that is take the thing and yes, something I barely don't pretend anything and significant to up to even establishing digital. Just of my own situations and like you can say it's the grace of God, you can say it's God at work, you can say that it's not. But in general, it's try to be open-minded, to be realistic with yourself, to try to just you know, instance is very, very critical to different decisions.
Sorry, sir. It seems like it's breaking at some point and it's not
Let, let me let
coming
me
out
let me
loud.
stop you. Let me stop using the airport.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds better now.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. So I think my AirPod is the battery life is getting weak. Okay, so I'll just quickly repeat myself. I go by the flow. I don't pre-plan anything. A number of things happen by chance, happenstance, and I try not to hold anything back. I give everything a chance. Of course, there's been some wrong turns here and there in life. It's generally occurring in life. I mean, you start from right from the time one is conscious of oneself. You know, when you solely responsible for the decisions you make, that there will have been mistakes, which I but if you are married and you have an employment and your spouse is also and you are married, if you want to opt out into the what I call the unknown, it's very important to ensure that your wife is in some sort of steady employment, so that at least you will be able to guarantee food on the table as a basic minimum. That is something that is very important. I was opportuned to be spoken to by some senior colleagues of mine in that direction, and I took that to bear when I was ready to make the jump. It's very important also to ensure that you start in a very modest way, and then you gradually grow yourself up. But in all cases, in all situations, you must try to be truthful to yourself. And this is very important. You just have to know who you are, just like I've said. And yeah, that's the best I can ask to that question right now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Biedu and Desoya. So Mr. Victor Ogumola, I would want you to just give a response to what advice you give to your younger self and how also how do we deal with failures?
Yeah, thank you again, Sheo. And I think I will start from the second one, your response to failure. So one, you have to be fully aware that failure is part of the process. Your journey in life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So every experience has its lessons. So my attitude as a person to failure, you want to deal with the substance of your failure. When you focus on maybe the result or the relevancies, then you've not learned a lesson. I've failed multiple times. I've made mistakes, but what my greatest takeaway is to have that retrospection and to see where I was responsible for the failure, and if it is something outside my control. So all in a bid to be a better person and to avoid such a mistake in the future. So my attitude to failure is you taking failure as a learning, not as a source of depression or things that you consider as a roadblock or something that will knock you down. I've been in an interview with, gone through different stages, gone to the finals, yet the job didn't come. And rather than blaming the organization or thinking I listen to friends, oh, the process is not fair. That is not my own attitude. I could be very critical of myself, and that has really helped me through life. So failure is not an end in itself. It's a learning, and it's not a showstopper. In fact, it should be an inspiration for you to even find a more creative way of doing things. So that's what I would say about that second question. Then the first one, to my younger self, I will say, you can't create your own world and live in it. Certainly not in this industry. So networking. And I think that also ties back to the theme of this conversation. That is part of a non-technical skills you have to have. So wherever you are, you have to network. I can tell you when I look at the last 40 years of my life, I have till today childhood friends who we are still close. Where I went to elementary school, to secondary school, to first degree university. All the universities are, even where I did 1 year in youth service. So where I went to, where I worship, when I look at people within my network, at least I will see a representative of where I spent time at a particular period of my life. So, and that has really helped me. But at the same time, I felt I should have even done more. So all I'm saying, for your upward trajectory, you need people. And of course, you have to be very intentional in choosing the people that come to your space. So, because that is what I didn't, I've had a relationship that I regretted it, I have to say. So to my younger self, I think I would have been more circumspect. But take it from me that networking is very important. That's why your participation in Nape is very, very important, especially if you must have a career in this industry. If you have the means, you want to attend conferences, you want to attend technical meetings, you want to attend events that bring people together where you can easily network. So, to my younger self, another thing is, I think Mr. Adesanya alluded to, he brought in a family perspective there. Yes, I will also tell us this is what has really worked for me. This may be very personal, but I can tell you can never go wrong. You have to honor your parents. I'm over 6,000 miles away from Nigeria. I live in Houston, Texas. I tell you, and I have a 93-year-old mom. I see her at least 2 times a year. She's too old to travel, so I'm the one that always goes to see her. All I'm saying, I'm a man of faith, and there is an unspoken, unwritten, very concealed blessings, in doing that. So, I'm telling you, I don't know why I'm talking about it, but I've seen enough. I have colleagues. It's easy to forget. You can easily detach from your roots if you are not careful. Even people that live in Lagos, they have their village somewhere in, within the country. It's as if they live far away. So all I'm saying, stay connected with your people wherever you are, regardless of where the compass of life takes you. Then the last thing I will say is this: always pay it forward. Again, I'll go back to Mr. Desanya. I sincerely, what he's doing, even though this is a company that should be running on profit, but opening that up to as a training ground for young people, for me, that is the height of ethnic service. And to each and every one of us, I said it is easy to forget. Wherever you are today, wherever you will be tomorrow, just know that what you experienced years before, decades before, when you needed all the help in this world, you must always know that thousands of other people are in that exact situation right now. And that is a call to action. Yes, you may not be a participant at the corridor of power, but in your own little corner, what is it that you do to impart humanity? That is important. Our world will be better for it if each and every one of us can just think beyond ourselves and our immediate family. Thank you so much. It has been a honor to be here.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor Ogumola. And it seems like there's a question for you. But before I go there, I'll still have the final words from Mr. Adesanya and then from you, Mr. Victor. Someone has asked a question, Kenneth Chukwemeka. And the second part of your question, you want to know the time frame for the application. I know if you're on the YP platform or if I know that there are always adverts online concerning this, but because you've addressed this question to Mr. Victor, I'll just ask Mr. Victor to use about 10 or 20 seconds to respond to you concerning your question of, please, we are English speaking. Are there measures to counter writing these tests, the test of GRE and TOEFL? Is it really necessary or just to increase one's chances for the scholarships in the US? I'll just like Mr. Victor to quickly respond to this. I'll
Yes.
take the last words from our panelists.
Yeah, thank you. So our recommendation as an organization is write this exam. It doesn't hurt. Yes, there are a lot of schools that will even waive GRE TOEFL for you. The fact that you are English speaking country doesn't really fly, and you are doing it for yourself, not for the school. Because especially when it comes to scholarship, like you rightly mentioned, it increases your chance. Because the only way they can assess your ability, because when the salary they give to you, it's not like they're just giving you money for free. You actually work for it. You work for it in form of being a graduate assistant. Maybe you are helping your professor to teach some classes online. or they give it to you as a form of research assistant. You are working closely with your supervisor in his research lab, or they give it to you as a teaching assistantship. So is then the only way, because in each of those groups, they want to test your communication. I mean, we've spoken about communication here. So they want to know the person they are bringing into their lab. So, and remember, this scholarship is globally competitive. People from Asia, from Europe, from Middle East, from everywhere, they are competing for the same thing. Why will you not do something that will at least give you an edge? So my recommendation is, as much as you can, write it. And I know this exam is a lot. It costs a lot and it requires a lot of preparation. And if you need help, please reach out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that swift response. So finally, I would ask, a lot of us are looking up to this, but to you, our panelists, and we want to be like you. And if not more, even go higher than you have attained. Just final words in a sentence or two, what you give, advice you give to us, and maybe something we've not really spoken about. Because I know in Mr. Adesonya's response to failure and advice to younger self, he mentioned something about mentoring and how he had people to speak, like he spoke with. And then Mr. Ogumola has also mentioned taking failure as a learning. I know a lot of people say fail, F-A-I-L, is first attempt in learning. And I think if we see it from that perspective, it would help us. But a final comment, I want to take a final comment from you all, Mr. Adesonya, final comments to us, and then Mr. Ogumola would go.
Well, again, just to reiterate the fact that the way to success is not an easy route. It requires some hard work. It requires some resilience. It requires some learning new skills. It requires being very honest. It requires being very open, friendly, and free-minded. But it also requires you to be dedicated so that you can get to where you intend to go very easily. And in today's world, BSc, MSc, PhD geology by itself does not get you there. You need extras. So I will admonish that we keep on working on ourselves, and by God's grace, we will get there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ogumola. Final words.
Yeah, thank you so much. Before the final, I just read through a few of the chats. So, I'm sorry, Kenneth, the application window always open first week in January. So, I mean, you can follow the organization on LinkedIn and on any of the social media platforms. So, I mean, this is very open. Then the second question there, yeah. So anyway, a bit of caveat here. I don't even have visibility to the selection process. We have a whole lot of team that does the selection. But what I can tell you for free, Mr. Samuel Ogidi, yes, 2-1 first class is not enough. Just like, I mean, I think Mr. Bashiru just mentioned that you could have all that. And remember, the minimum requirement is 2-1. So everybody is shortlisted. And before that, you have 2-1. There are other things you still have to if you don't have reference, for example, or you are not submitting academic transcripts, or you didn't write a SOP or a study plan, you know all the application requirements, then you may not be shortlisted. And the time shortlisted, I have to be very careful. If you meet all those 4 criteria, you are shortlisted. At least your application is given consideration. Like I mentioned, we had 2,400 applications this year, 2,400. So, and we only had to select 70. So the first stage is, I mean, there are all manners of filters we apply. Then some application will migrate to level of actually being assessed. Then those that are assessed, we select 100 for verbal interview or oral interview. So every application is shortlisted that is qualified. But again, it's a very competitive thing. And the truth is, We are limited by our capacity and resources too. We want to sponsor more. I mean, when I look at the list this year after the final thing, at least the first 200, the top 200, they are equally qualified to be sponsored. But again, we only had space for 70. So you are shortlisted, but I mean, shortlisted, I don't know what that means, but you might not have been on top of the 70 that we selected. So final word, again, I will just reiterate all I've talked about, please. Okay, maybe one thing I will say differently. As somebody who had the privilege of working in this part of the world, I mean, I've been in the industry for about 20 years, and I worked in the UK, then now I'm in the US. So all I want to say is you don't have to fake anything. You have to be very, very consistent in your dealings. When somebody if somebody met you 20 years ago and he wants to talk about you today, there must be some fundamental values. There must be some fundamental things that are still the same about you. I'm not talking about your level of understanding. I mean, you have to grow. But when we are talking about character, they are talking about who you are. You don't have to fake your identity wherever you are in this planet. It helps. It's a small word. So as young professionals, you have to be very comfortable in your own skin. You get what I'm saying? Even right now in my team, I'm different. I mean, in many situations, I will be when I say different, I have accent, I have different color, I have a lot of what you could consider as deficiency, even in the midst of the demography I work with. However, people are not looking at all those things. They are looking at the content of your character. They are looking at the quality of your work, the value that you bring to the table. So you have to be comfortable in your own skin. Don't try to fake anything. When you are comfortable, then you concentrate energy and effort on the things that matter. So when you live a fake life, you will already find out. So that will be my last word for you. Be consistent. Be legit anywhere you are. And don't ever think you can fake people and be successful at it for so long. It's just a matter of time. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ogumala, for those last words. And to Mr. Desonya, I know Mr. Bashir also would have been here to give us his final words, but I'm struggling to join us, and maybe he got engaged to attend to something else. But I really want to thank each and every one of you for attending this career development workshop. But I would like to call on the president of Nape, Mr. Elliot Ibie, FNAPE, who had also given us an opening remark. But before I bring him on, I would want to say that some months back, we had the hangout session with Mr. Elliot Ibie, and that was when this idea of the career development workshop was birthed. And then now seeing it being actualized, it gives me great pleasure. It's something that it's really worth encouraging. But I want to call on Mr. Elliot Ibie, who would help give us a vote of thanks to our panelists.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sharon. Thanks for reminding me of where this journey started from. But I guess the journey is not really from that hangout. It's really around. You can see from the quality of questions that have come up today, from when we started. There's a lot of agitation, even from the students, in wanting to better themselves, from our youths, and the youths represent the future of the association. And so if we also help in that journey to prepare them for what looks like an adult's task, but really around adequate preparation, adequate front end loading, I think the future is very bright. I also salute the can-do attitude and will-do attitude of the Nape YP to ensure that the aspirations are being seen to fruition. But for today's weekend workshop, I want to really salute those who have made it possible. From the Nape YP Exco to our panelists and the speakers who took time out of their busy schedule to attend this workshop. I think the YP salutes you, but Nape also salutes you for your continuous labor of love to ensure that Nape continues to thrive. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this workshop, the quality of people that have been invited, there's credence to, and the people who have been invited, I think they were carefully selected by the Flora led exco. There are people that hardly ever say no to Nape. And maybe that's why we keep on calling them, because they and we hope that they'll keep on telling us yes. Because they represent most of them are Nape fellows. And there's a reason why they were selected as fellows. You can see that reason now. There are people who have also done very well for themselves in their chosen careers. And we can see why they are selected and why they have reason to that. And these are the people that we want to be like, that the YPs also want to aspire to be like. So I want to thank everyone, even the attendees at today's workshop, for the time they've taken out to be part of this very successful workshop. And on behalf of NAPE, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, and on behalf of the Executive Committee and Advisory Council, I want to say thank you to everyone for this workshop today, and all the very best, and have a successful and great weekend and the rest of the month. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Elliot EBF Nape, for those kind words to our panelists and all those who have made this possible. I think we'll just have about 5 minutes of announcements so as to enlighten or bring to the knowledge of some of our participants our future programs, and I'll try to take that quickly. Yes, we've just finished the YP Career Development Workshop webinar. And I know for every Saturday in June, we would continue to have one or two topics. The way we had the one from Dr. Wasio Dufison today. For next week Saturday, we are going to have Mr. Ifeanyi Eze, a scholarship expert and academic writer, come speak to us about how to write your way in getting admissions, scholarship, and grants in any field. Mr. Ogumola has made a comment about this in some of his responses to our questions. And then some of you have also asked questions with regards to this. So come next week, Saturday, 10th of June, we will be discussing this. And then 17th of June, 2023, 2 Saturdays to come, we would have Mrs. Tubosun Afolayo, a communication strategist, speak to us about strategic communication and how to network at conferences, at technical events, so that we will be able to sell ourselves. And moving forward, by tomorrow, we'll be having another mentors social hangout in Lagos in the person of our very own Austin Avoro FNAPE, who is the executive chairman, AA Holdings Limited. And this is strictly by invitation. For further information, you can contact Bethel Akuche, who is in charge of events and planning, and you can always reach out to her. And then afterwards, in June, on 17th of June, we would also be having in Benin, no, sorry, not Benin, but we'll be having in Warri our Nape YP technical workshop with the theme of repositioning the young professionals, skills and training for future energy dynamics. And then in that, we'll have a different special guests come speak to us, and then our facilitators to touch on different topics in our field. And then later on, we're going to have a technical capacity building. We always like to encourage and train and build and grow in the training of one another. But this time we'll be having a topic on risk analysis and volumetrics of oil and gas industry, which are essentials for young professionals. And it will be delivered within 2 days by Obobi Ome Onwuka, who is an exploration geoscientist in Shell, and Debo Enilolupo, who is also an exploration geoscientist with Shell. Try and register as certificates will be given to all participants. Any Lolobo. Okay, thank you so much for that correction, sir. And next, we would also be having a Nape YP Data Analytics Bootcamp for young professionals. And this time it will be on data analytics using structured query language, Oracle SQL. And this will be facilitated by Osasuyi Erahon, a software developer and geoscientist at Toloram Group. And another capacity building for young professionals will be introduction to carbon capture, utilization, and storage, which will hold sometime in October by Mr. Nnameka Oyagba, a production associate at Tesla, Berlin-Brandenburg in Germany. And I think with that, I also want to remind you all, so as to continue to benefit from some of our programs, because some of them will be discounted for our registered and financially up-to-date members. I want to please encourage you all to try to pay your dues. For more information, you can always reach out to any of the excos or reach out to me. Always, the NAPI Secretariat as well. You can contact Abiyua, who is in charge of membership at the Secretariat. And that will be it. And with that, we'll come to the end of this program. I want to on the last note, thank each and every one of you for participating. To our speaker, Dr. Wasio Dufison, to our panelist, Mr. Bashiru, Mr. Victor, and then Mr. Abiodun Abisoya FNAPE for gracing this event. And to our President, NAPE President, Mr. Elliot Ibie, FNAPE, for always being there to grace our events. Thank you for all the support you've given to us. And to every single person on this call, I want to thank you for being present here. And with that, we'll come to the end of this session, and I want to wish you all a restful weekend. Thanks and goodbye.